Okay, what's up, y'all? So, get myself together here. The Benelli. It's kind of dreary out. It's gonna rain today. Got the Ninja all cleaned up, chain clean, and I was like, you know what? I need to stop procrastinating and finally get the stunt cage that I got from A-Town Customs installed on the Benelli. To be honest, I was afraid, because I'm like, once I put this thing on here, I'm gonna have to go practice wheelies again, and I'm kind of still on the fence about wanting to practice wheelies. I mean, I love wheelies. I want to learn how to do them. I want to learn how to do them on this bike. It's the reason I bought it, and this thing's been sitting for over a year. And with that, it was in parts because I had a little damage to the rear here. Of course, as usual, I will put in some up close shots of what I'm talking about. I did a wheelie video way back when, trying to get my sea legs back doing wheelies, and it did not work out well at all. Damaged the rear fairings, damaged the tail light a little bit. I just put some epoxy on it because Benelli as a company will not sell fairings to consumers. I have to go to the dealer, and I just don't feel like doing all that because I'm going to put the stunt cage on it, and hopefully I won't screw it up. But if I end up screwing it up any more than I already have, then it will be a waste of time and money to go buy the fairings that I'm probably going to bust again. Hopefully I won't, because that's the whole purpose of the stunt cage. Randall neighbors. So let me go ahead and open this baby up. Slicey tool, which I've been sitting on this box since Christmas, and it's probably freaking. You know what? Let's open it up from the bottom. I don't know how they sealed this box. I'm probably gonna find out when I slice my hand off. Luckily, I won't be able to do it because this blade is dull as balls. Because balls are pretty dull. There we go. So, brand new and well beyond the return window because I can't send it back. Also, since the Benelli's been sitting for over a year and it was in shambles, I didn't know how to put it back together. So I did a speed run for you video of myself putting everything back together. I had to keep running back and forth from the right side to the left side, right to left, because I didn't know where every bolt went. I ended up with 3 extra bolts, not sure quite where they go, but the bike's mostly back together, pretty solid. But what I wanted to do is get the Benelli back together so that when I take certain bolts out to install the frame, the cage, that bolt was where it was supposed to be originally, and I'm not mixing and matching bolts. For the most part, 90% of the bolts on this bike are exactly the same. Tiny little bolt. Of course, I'll show a video of that. And there's only 1 or 2 with extra long threads, but they're all physically the same thread style. So without further ado, and the reason I keep talking so fast and loud is because these camera video freaking goggles, if I don't talk or give myself too much time in between, it'll start cutting my voice out like I'm not saying anything at all, and that's rude because I'm saying stuff. It's just not listening to me. So you can see how dull this blade is. Can't cut cellophane. I've been using it to chop through freaking floor tile, vinyl floor tile. Had to redo some stuff because I jacked up some stuff while trying to fix some other stuff as it goes with home improvement. Oh man, God, that's pretty. So of course, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish opening this puppy up. I can't throw the box like I usually do because it's heavy, but look at that. A-Town. I'm sure they gave me some extra long bolts and some stuff and some junk. So what I'm doing is I'm going to open this baby up. Of course I will proceed with the video, but you don't have to listen to all this flim flam while I get myself situated, and I'll catch you in a quick fade. Alrighty, so that took way longer than I assumed it would, but not horrible. It took me about maybe 2.5 hours because this thing came with no instructions, like 0. I ransacked the box that it came in, pulled out every piece of cardboard, every piece of wrapping, whatever. No instructions. I had to go back in the house, go to Tactical Mindz website, go to my old emails to see if they sent me anything. Nothing. The back was not very hard to figure out. It's got 4 bolt holes. Once you take the seat off, there's 4 bolt holes. You kind of line them up, you're good to go. The front took a little bit of finagling, figured it out. It wasn't too bad. There's giant spacers. Of course, I'm going to give you guys a visual. I took some videos before I did this because I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to film me actually putting this thing together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to give you the verbal rundown and then follow it up with some, you know, visual tools like I always do. So what I did was I took off the seats. Of course, I took this seat off. It's got 2 bolts that hold it on. Took off my license plate. I already have a fender eliminator kit on here from a previous install I did when I first got it. So I had to kind of rework that a little bit. It wasn't too bad. The bolts for the rear piece, the 12 bar, are coarse thread. They do not fit in the frame for the Benelli. The Benelli is an aluminum frame with threaded bolts. There is not a blank bolt hole for me to just slide bolts through. So that was a bit of a pain. I had to use the stock bolts that came with it. I'm gonna have to go get some longer ones just because I want a little bit more meat on the bolt. But the bolts that came with this thing just do not fit, and I didn't want to. I mean, I got a tap and die kit, but I didn't want to deal with all that. So I ended up putting this baby on. It wasn't too hard. Lining up bolt holes. Used the original bolts. Ended up putting the 12 bar on itself. I had to put my own decals on the rear here. They didn't come on the rear, but you know, I'm pretty legit with the decal placement, so it went on pretty smooth. Except for that side that didn't stick right now. Okay, so the sliders themselves went on just giant pieces of vinyl here. And then of course they came with some sticky back sandpaper. That's basically what this is. I forget which grit, but it's pretty thick. And I wrapped it around the slider itself. There are bolts that go into the posts inside. Very self-explanatory, very easy to install on the rear. Now the front actually makes use of a cross member bar, this guy, that goes to the other side of the bike, just in front of the engine, just barely like a millimeter under what I believe is the rectifier. Usually that's that type of deal right there with the little fins and heat sink on it. And of course the main guy is the mount axle bolt pivot for the swing arm. So I got this thing up on the stand, so I had to go over there and get my jack, and I had to place the jack under the motorcycle to hold the engine up with a block of wood, just because I didn't want to make any scrapes or dents or dings. But removing this whole job should probably be a 2-person job. I'm used to working by myself, but I can, if I really needed help, I probably wouldn't have taken this job on. But you can do this by yourself. I ended up using a extension for my sockets. Actually, you're going to need a lot of extensions. These things, super deep. Like, try to put a regular socket in there without an extension, impossible. You're going to need 6 to 8 inch extensions just to make your life easier. 4-incher could do it, 2 of them, but you got to work on both sides sometime, and you need to be able to have 2 good extensions. Takes a lot of stress out. You want to have a nice good hex set, just like that DeWalt set I got over there. Helps the job go by a lot faster. I wish I could have did the visual as I was down there, but it was just a pain. Those spacers there, actually, can't even speak. Obviously you can see they go on the inside on both sides of the side frame, the engine frame. This guy, these vinyl pucks, all have self-tapping screws. The holes did not align perfectly, so you just kind of, you know, they're self-tapping. So you get them near the hole, you screw in until they set. Every single threaded item on this bike that I've touched, I have put blue thread locker on it, just because I am very cautious, and this is a brand new install. Things are not going to be set like they've been sitting here for 2 years from the factory. I do not want this thing coming apart. This guy is tedious. Not extremely hard, but it's tedious. Like I said, it is the pivot for the swing arm. Yes, the swing arm has a mechanical connection with the spring back here, but it's a spring. It's going to boing out of the way. So this thing shifted left and right. I was able to, like I said, use the extension, and I tapped it in with a rubber mallet. As the post for the swing arm was coming out, the extension was going in, pretty much keeping both the holes lined up. It shifted a little bit, but not a lot. Had I just removed it, this thing would have just fell. But like I said, I did have my jack and a piece of wood to keep the frame of body of the bike up, because the swing arm would have just been on the jack and the motorcycle would have just been free floating, which would have been pretty bad. Pinch hazard, you know, could have misaligned some things, but worked out pretty well. It was only in there for a little bit of time, so it did not hold a lot of weight. It wasn't under a lot of stress, because I don't know the strength of the swing arm bolt compared to the extension. So overall, job not horrible. 2-person recommended. Can't really think of too much else. The use of the extensions is absolutely necessary. The long bolt had the 2 giant spacers on it, has a lock nut on one side. You have to be able to force that bolt in. Do not use a deep socket. You have to switch between 17, 19, 13, 14 millimeter sockets. You should not use the deep ones, because that bolt will actually recess itself into the socket. You need a shallow socket with an extension, that way you can push the bolt through to the other side, so you can have enough meat to get both washers on. If you don't do that, you're going to be like me, fighting with it for an extra 20 minutes trying to figure out what the heck's going on. You're figuring out you're trying to push the bolt in and it's got nothing backing it. So I think that was the hardest part, aligning the frame, those deep sockets inside the post for the cage itself. But other than that, I mean, this thing looks cool. I am afraid to go test it out. This titanium 12 slider is supposed to be really awesome. It's shooting sparks out, so it's probably going to stay clean for a while until I get my skills up. And I think that's it, guys. Actually, I haven't started this bike in forever. It's just been sitting on the trickle charger. Let's see if good old Nero even... Yeah, there we go. My little 1-cylinder thumper is now ready for some stunt practice, at least wheelie practice, which is the maximum amount of stunts I'll probably ever do in my life. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video at least a little bit. I wish I could have done a better job with the actual active install, but having these glasses, bouncing back and forth, trying to see into those sockets, just was not a good time for me. So I had to take these things off and do some work instead of focusing on the video. So hopefully I was able to summarize it enough for you. Tactical Mindz, great job. A-Town Customs, great job on this. Like I said, the only problem I had was here with the bolts being of coarse thread, and that's it. Catch you guys later.